Hi guys, welcome to this video. I'm Prashant, I'm the founder of Word Pandit, and I'm bringing this series of videos to you wherein I explain previous year CAT questions. In this particular case, we've got a CAT 2018 RC and we're going to carry out a passage analysis. What do we do in passage analysis videos? We pick up RC passages, we understand the context, we highlight the important points, we read through it and pick up everything important which is going to help you solve RC questions and also try to increase your understanding of the passage itself. So that's the intent behind these videos. Let's get started. What is this passage analysis video all about? The only thing worse than being lied to is not knowing that you are being lied to. I think the deception hurts that much more, right? When someone lies to you, the fact that you don't know you are being lied to, that hurts even more. It's true that plastic pollution is a huge problem of planetary proportions, so that means it's impacting the whole planet. And it's true that we could all do more to reduce our plastic footprint, so our plastic presence across the world can be reduced. The lie is that the blame for plastic problem is wasteful consumers, and changing our individual habits will fix it. So he's saying the lie is that we are placing the blame on wasteful consumers. If this is a lie, if this is not true, then whom should we blame for the plastic problem? If consumers cannot be blamed, then who else would be blamed? The producers, right? So that's where the blame has to rest or lie. That's what the author implies here, and that is going to follow in these passages in the following paragraphs as well. You can make this tiny little inference here itself. Now, what does he say in the next paragraph? Recycling plastic is to saving the earth what hammering a nail is to halting a falling skyscraper, which basically implies, he's implying through this analogy that this is actually silly, right? Recycling plastic is being silly. It's not going to solve the problem. You struggle to find a place to do it and feel pleased when you succeed, but your effort is wholly inadequate, distracts from the real problem of why the building is collapsing in the first place. The real problem is single-use plastics which are used once and disposed. For example, the very idea of producing plastic items like grocery bags, which we use for an average of 12 minutes but can persist in the environment for half a millennium, is an incredibly reckless abuse of technology. So this shows, right, something we are using for 12 minutes is going to be there for half a millennium. So that's a pretty insane proposition. Encouraging individuals to recycle more will never solve the problem of a massive production of single-use plastics that should have been avoided in the first place. So he's saying you should avoid producing these plastics. That is what is going to solve the problem. Once you've produced them, recycling them is actually not going to change or solve anything. Now the author says, as an ecologist and evolutionary biologist, so she works in this particular fields, I have had a disturbing window into the accumulating literature on the hazards of plastic pollution. So she's had an insight into the accumulating literature. Scientists have long recognized that plastics biodegrade slowly, if at all, and pose multiple threats to wildlife through entanglement and consumption. So this paragraph is going to do nothing else, but it's going to present you with the problems of plastics, the hazards of plastic pollution. So A, they degrade slowly. B, they pose threats to wildlife. More recent reports highlight dangers posed by absorption of toxic chemicals in the water and plastic odors that mimic some species' natural food. Plastics also accumulate up the food chain. That means animals lower in the food chain consume them and they move up higher the food chain, right, by this consumption. And studies now show that we are likely ingesting it in ourselves in seafood. Beginning in the 1950s, the beverage companies like Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch, along with Philip Morris and others, formed a non-profit called Keep America Beautiful. Its mission was to educate and encourage environmental stewardship in the public. At face value, these seem to be benevolent, but they obscure the real problem, which is the role that corporate polluters play in the plastic problem. So he's saying that this non-profit is actually deceptive. At face value, it looks all good. They seem to have very charitable objectives, but they are actually obscuring the real problem. They are letting go of corporate polluters. The clever misdirection has led journalist and author Heather Rogers to describe Keep America Beautiful as the first corporate greenwashing front. So greenwashing is nothing else but a deceptive process, right, wherein you show that a company's products are actually greener than they actually are, right? So you're deceiving the public by you're greenwashing the public, right? You're telling them that our products are environmentally friendly when they're actually not. as it has helped shift the public focus from consumer recycling behavior to consumer recycling behavior and actively prevented legislation that would increase extended producer responsibility for waste management. So what have these attempts done? They have actually shifted the focus on consumer recycling behavior, and they've shifted the focus away from the fact that production itself is the problem here, right? There is no legislation for producer responsibility for waste management. The greatest success of Keep America Beautiful has been to shift the onus of environmental responsibility onto the public while simultaneously becoming a trusted name in the environmental movement. So what can we do to make a responsible use of plastic a reality? First, reject the lie, right? So we've got to accept that consumers cannot be blamed. Litter bugs are nothing else but people who litter in public places are not responsible for the global ecological disaster of plastics. Humans can only function to the best of their abilities given time, mental bandwidth, and systematic constraints. Our huge problem with plastic is the result of permissive legal framework that has allowed the uncontrolled rise of plastic pollution despite clear evidence of the harm it causes to local communities and the world's ocean. Recycling is also too hard in most parts of the US and lacks the proper incentives to make it work well. So the author is basically saying recycling is not the solution. We've got to shift to legislation and producer side initiatives. This is what is going to solve the problem of plastic pollution. This is what the whole passage is about. Hopefully, so you're clear with the passage now and primarily what the author is talking about. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, happy learning.